Have you ever noticed how someone can compliment you 10 times in a single day, but the one rude comment, maybe a throwaway joke, a careless remark, stays with you for years? You remember exactly where you were, what you are wearing, how your stomach dropped. Why is it that the mind handles criticism like tattoo and praise like disappearing ink? Today, we're going to uncover the hidden psychological machinery behind this strange imbalance. And once you see it, you'll never interpret criticism or praise the same way again. Imagine you're in a meeting, maybe at school, maybe at work. You've just shared an idea you're proud of. Someone across the room leans back, smirks, and says, I don't think that's going to work. The room moves on, but you don't. You replay it that night, then again the next morning. You start rewriting the entire scene in your mind, what you should have said, what they really meant, what everyone else must be thinking about you. And then comes the worst part. You forget every other positive thing said that day. If this feels familiar, it's because your mind is doing exactly what it evolved to do, not what you want it to do. What you're experiencing is ancient, primitive, and deeply wired. Let's go back about 100,000 years. Imagine you're a hunter-gatherer walking through tall grass. You hear a rustle. It could be a harmless breeze or a predator ready to attack. Your brain didn't survive by saying, let's focus on the positive possibilities. It survived by preparing for the worst. Negative signals, fear, criticism, rejection, were potential life or death warnings. And so the brain built a system designed to scan for threats first, remember threats longest, and react to threats strongest. Praise didn't save your life, but noticing a frown, a disagreement, or a sign of social disapproval, that could decide whether you stayed in the tribe or were left to survive alone. And in ancient times, being alone was a death sentence, which means your brain is treating criticism as if it's a saber-toothed tiger. And that's only where the story begins. There's something uniquely painful about negative comments, not because they're words, but because of what they threaten. Humans are social creatures. Connection is survival. So your mind has a special alarm system dedicated to rejection. This alarm system in a region called the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex lights up the same way it does when you experience physical pain. In other words, your brain treats a hurtful comment like a punch. It's why you flinch, why your chest tightens, why your thoughts start spinning. Praise makes you feel good. Criticism makes you feel unsafe. And the brain prioritizes safety over happiness every single time. There's a research finding known as the negativity bias, and it is powerful. Studies suggest it takes 3, 4, even 5 positive comments to emotionally balance out just one negative comment. We notice negative faces in a crowd faster than positive ones. We react more strongly to insults than to compliments. This isn't a flaw, it's a design choice. Your ancestors who ignored negative signals didn't make it. You were descended from the people who paid attention. The issue is the world we live in today doesn't match the world our brains evolved for. Your coworker is not a predator. Your classmate is not a rival tribe member. A sarcastic remark is not a threat to your survival. But your brain doesn't know that. And here's where things take a surprising turn. Your brain doesn't just react to negative comments, it negotiates with them. Every criticism gets filtered through a story you've been carrying since childhood. Am I good enough? Am I respected? Am I valued? Do people like me? This is the part most people never examine, yet it shapes almost every emotional reaction they have. And understanding this inner narrative, that is the key to breaking the grip of negative comments. Because when you see that the sting you feel isn't just about the words spoken today, but about a survival instinct thousands of years old, you gain a new perspective. You realize the reaction isn't a reflection of your worth, but a ghost in your own machine. And with that knowledge, you can begin to choose a different story. Every negative comment you remember, every cutting remark, every joke that went too far, it gets filtered through older bruises. Maybe it was a parent who rarely praised you, a teacher who dismissed your ideas. Your mind stores these moments like bookmarks, and when a new criticism hits,
It flips right back to every page that hurt before. This is why some comments can completely crush you, while others just roll off your back. It isn't about what was said. It's about the chapter of your life that comment belongs to. And unless you rewrite that story, the same wounds just keep reopening. And here's a strange truth. For many of us, praise feels suspicious, uncomfortable. Someone compliments your work, and your first thought is, are they just being nice? Do they actually mean it? What if I disappoint them next time? This happens because your brain is wired to see criticism as a more trustworthy signal. Praise feels safe, but not reliable. And there's another twist. Praise requires vulnerability. It asks you to accept that you're worthy, and that can feel scarier than rejection. So we dismiss the good and we replay the bad. The imbalance grows. This is a cognitive trap called confirmation bias. If deep down you believe, I fail a lot, or people don't take me seriously, then criticism simply confirms that story.
Praise contradicts it. So one gets absorbed and the other gets deflected. Your brain is just trying to make your inner world match your outer world, even if that inner world is outdated and wrong. So this is where the transformation begins. Most people think the goal is to just ignore negative comments, but that isn't realistic. The real power comes from changing the story behind the reaction. It's about shifting the meaning. So instead of thinking, this criticism means I'm failing, try telling yourself, this is data, not a declaration. Instead of, they don't like me, try, this is one person's momentary perception. And instead of, this confirms my weakness, reframe it as, this shows where I can grow, not who I am. When you shift the meaning, you shift the emotional weight. And suddenly, the criticism doesn't tattoo itself into your memory. It becomes information, nothing more. And there's a surprising tool you can use for the other side of the equation: praise. Positive moments can outweigh negative ones, but only when you create intentional space for them. Your brain doesn't automatically hold on to a compliment. You have to imprint. This means the next time someone gives you praise, just pause for 5 extra seconds. Let the feeling actually sink in. Allow yourself to believe the compliment instead of immediately arguing it within your head. 5 seconds of presence.
It sounds simple, but it is scientifically powerful in changing how long that positive moment stays with you. So why are we like this? Why does the mind replay the sting of criticism and forget the warmth of praise? Because for thousands of years, noticing danger kept us alive. Rejection once meant exile. Pain demands attention. And old wounds echo louder than new encouragement. But here's the part we so often forget. We are no longer living in the world our brains were built for. You're not fighting for survival in a hostile tribe. You're living in a world where connection and creativity define your life, not threats. Which means you can retrain your mind. You can teach it what matters now. You can teach it what to hold on to and what to let go. And maybe the next time someone praises you, you won't let it slip through your fingers. You'll let it stay long enough to make a difference. Because the truth is, praise isn't fragile. We are. But we don't have to stay that way.
I want you to hold on to something powerful. Then your mind may be wired to remember the negative, but you have the ability to choose what stays and what fades. Every time you pause and let a compliment land, every time you challenge that inner voice that says you're not enough, every time you rewrite the story behind a criticism, and you're teaching your brain a new way to see you. You're not stuck with the old patterns. You're not defined by the harsh words that linger. You're growing even in the moments you don't notice. So if this video opened your eyes or made you feel understood, I hope you'll stick around, because this channel dives into the psychology of everyday life, the hidden habits, the mental traps, the behaviors we all share but rarely talk about. And if you're on a journey to understand yourself better, you're exactly where you belong. Take care of your mind today, protect your peace, and give yourself permission to let the good things stay a little longer. Thank you for visiting.